What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Odd Shopper channel, coming to you with a 5-game Christmas edition of NBA Lindy's Leans, Lights, and Locks. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. Goes a long way for me on this video. Goes a long way for you. That way you become apprised whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. First off, Merry Christmas. Second off, hopefully you drive safe wherever you're heading to or wherever you're heading from. I would love for you guys to just smash that like button for me. Would love for you guys to have a Merry Christmas. Would love for all of these things to be joyous occasions. And, well, last couple of days of betting sure have been. Swept the NFL streets on Monday. Monday also ended up hitting a bunch of extra locks that ended up showing there in the premium Discord. We ended up on Detroit money line too, nearly plus 200. Felt really good about that read, and also the opportunity to fire up Malik Beasley, Bobby Portis, a lot of props that were hitting there. Talked about a little bit Jabari Smith stuff. Didn't end up getting on that myself, but a lot of other people did, and that made me happy to see in the premium Discord. You guys want to join it? Lindy50, still active, still able to get you 50% off either your first week, that is $10 then it would become, or first month, $25, less than $1 a day for an entire month to come hang out, get all of my plays before everybody does on these videos, as well as all of the extra additions, which is more than half of my cards on a daily day-to-day basis. So thank you guys for checking out these videos the whole season long. I don't take this holiday season for granted, and I'm very much looking forward to having a successful Wednesday here for you. That's for sure. But without further ado, producer Jacob. Yeah, so producer Jacob's gone. Producer Jordan Klein, he's on hand. Let's get to the picks. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. And in the New York Knicks stocking, well, they got Karl Anthony Towns and the Minnesota Timberwolves down, and we'll talk about them, and I'm just broken inside. But San Antonio, they have Victor Wembanyama. He's very good at basketball, especially when they get Joel Embiid ejected in one of the weirdest games that anybody's ever witnessed. I could not believe what I was watching in that first half. But they still lose the game. And yeah, there's one thing that I'm really mad at myself about. We'll get to that here first. But obviously, Tom Thibodeau, it doesn't matter if it's Christmas or if it's, October 24th. You got yourself some weirdness with these rotations because he's just going to play all of his dudes 40-plus minutes. So you can't really give him a Christmas bump the way that you might give some of the Lakers or the Dallas Mavericks or guys that know that they're in front of a massive audience. Tom Thibodeau, he just doesn't show any regard for human life at any point in time. So, yeah, I'm doing that with the Spurs, though, and I was really mad at myself on Monday with Tuesday, the 24th, being a built-in day for everybody to rest. I was pretty positive guys like Chris Paul would end up playing more minutes, and he played 35 minutes, and I somehow didn't bet his 6.5 points prop, which was sitting at minus 120, but now we've got him at 8.5 here with plus money in front of it. Now, you have to adjust it a little bit. First off, well, how are we looking at with the Knicks? 223.5 total. It's about neutral in terms of pace, but offensive rating. With Karl Anthony Towns out there, there's no rim protection whatsoever. Chris Paul, not necessarily somebody who gets to the rim very often, but gets in the mid-range. Jalen Brunson, the weakest defender in that starting five. Feel pretty confident in saying Chris Paul is the quote-unquote better matchup or the best matchup amongst the five guys on the floor on the San Antonio side. Victor Wembanyama sitting at 24.5. He's starting to take more threes, but against Karl Anthony Towns, I don't understand how you wouldn't try to go into the post and at least make some things happen. Because again, the worst rim protector by all metrics on dunks and three in the entire NBA. But Chris Paul, 8.5 points. We have to fire this up. Probably the biggest mistake I made on Monday was the omission of a bet to play Chris Paul at 6.5 points. It was bright green on my sheet. I said, I know better. Chris Paul's just going to continue to distribute. Well, I think he had 8 assists, but he also added double-digit points. I'm not going to make that mistake at plus money with the opportunity. No teams playing today are on a back-to-back on Thursday. I think that gives the veteran a little bit of a minutes bump and usage bump here in this spot against Jalen Brunson. Game number 2, my frustrating Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Dallas Mavericks. 5.5 points that they are grabbing here in a rematch of the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, Dallas ended up coming out of that one. Minnesota, it's a different look without Karl Anthony Towns, no doubt about it. Naz Reid, he ended up coming back into that game after turning his ankle. He's not on the injury report, but also I don't think his injury reports are very updated here at the moment. It's the 24th. Teams aren't playing. They're not required to put any news in, but he ended up playing those 29 minutes. But in Atlanta, a 13-point loss. We're just playing bad basketball here at the moment. However, despite all of the sky is falling talk going on by Minnesota Timberwolves fans such as myself, they're still projecting out with a better starting five than that of the New York Knicks with Karl Anthony Towns and their main starting five iteration, which is kind of hard to believe because you watch the games and it doesn't feel that way. But you also have to remember that those 5 guys are out there ad nauseum for the Knicks, whereas for Minnesota, you're rotating in Naz Reid. You're rotating in Dante DiVincenzo, who's been overall disappointing. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's been okay, but it's more defensively forward. We got to get some other pieces. We got to find some ways to, Julius Randle's got to probably go. That's really what it comes down to. But you got to love the one you're with, not the one you want. Love the one you're with, or something like that. I don't care. Dallas here on the other side. Luka Doncic comes back against Portland. They didn't really have to utilize him all that much. 27-7-7. He looked very, very chill out there. 30 minutes of play. Ridiculous stat line for 30 minutes of play. 132-108 against Portland. Yeah, wouldn't you know it? Dallas is way better on offense with Luka Doncic on the floor. Shocker. Real shocker there. Still have to lean towards Minnesota plus 5.5. I'm not going to bet this for what it's worth. The props look pretty darn efficient. I don't know about Naz Reid's status. Thought about blindly taking some stabs, but who's behind Naz Reid? Well, more minutes for Rudy Gobert. So I'm not loving anything other than maybe a play on his points, but it just sounds awful against Derek Lively, one of the better defensive sophomores that we have in the entire NBA. We've got ourselves Daniel Gafford out there behind him. It's just such a terrible spot here for Minnesota. Overall, just stay away from this game. Probably the least appealing from a betting perspective. Philly at Boston, and Joel Embiid only had to play 14 minutes because he got, the hit the road jack kind of thing. Now, Andre Drummond gets ejected, then he gets back to the game, then Joel Embiid goes on a tirade, and then say what you want. It was just absolute insanity in Philadelphia. Can't remember a first half quite like that one, but I want to at least throw this out there because I know there's a lot of hot take stuff going on. Shout out to the female ref who actually said I fucked up. I love that. I've never seen that out of an official ever. Now, it doesn't excuse the 2 quick hook ejections on Joel Embiid, but Joel Embiid, for what it's worth, you talk to anybody like that, guy, girl, doesn't matter. You're probably going to get ejected. He was asking for it at that point in time, but yeah, Andre Drummond getting ejected, coming back, just absurd stuff. Anywho, let's talk basketball here on Christmas. Joel Embiid in the lineup. Wouldn't you know it? Just like the last time. Oh, Luka's better. Dallas is better with Luka on the floor. Oh, the 76ers are better with Joel Embiid on the floor. But by a drastic extent. And Boston, despite everything that they have going, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, decent enough on the interior. It's kind of where you take advantage of this basketball team. Peyton Pritchard on the defensive end when he's on the floor for sure. But in Christmas situations here, you're going to have White, you're going to have Holiday, you're going to ramp up those minutes for sure. And you look at the 76ers side without McCain off the bench and Paul George, we're still accumulating some sample size. They're markedly different than years past here. But I do have a play from this one. And yeah, Boston, am I pissed off beyond all human capacity because of Monday's ridiculousness? Jason Tatum, not on the injury report, nobody reporting that he's sick, nobody talking about anything. And then all of a sudden, the starting lineup walks on the floor and Jason Tatum isn't there. Now, he got late scratched with an illness. I can't do anything about it. What I should have done was when the Boston Celtics were up 15, I should have bought in on the Orlando side there, but I thought it was too wide of a number. And of course, Orlando comes from behind with Trevelyan Queen and company and ends up winning against Boston straight up. So that looks worse in the box score in the old bet tracker than what I believe it should, but I do think it gives us a little bit of an edge here because Jaylen Brown, I think already looks as though somebody that is on the cusp of being bet here at this number. I have him for 26.4 points plus assists. Now, that's only 1.9 away from this number, but it's at minus 105. So we're talking about a very, very low price to be able to buy in. So it's already positive EV. And then you carry on the fact that Jason Tatum has a chance of actually sitting, or I don't know what this illness is because teams aren't required to do anything here on Tuesday. And that late scratch came from the absolute clouds in Orlando. They are traveling back to Boston. We'll get some confirmation in the morning, but I don't want this number to move too much. I don't even want to be playing this at minus 115 if I think Tatum's going to be playing. So you want to buy in now. BetMGM minus 105. There's a minus 110 at DraftKings. So the people in Maine, the good people in Maine and Oregon, where you can only play DraftKings, very bettable for you as well. But went through the ins and outs and iterations of this game. Jaylen Brown points plus assists. My favorite play from this one. Fire that one up for half a unit. And fire this up for half off. We got 50% off using code Lindy50 at the Discord below. Tails by OddsShopper. It's a beautiful place. It's an awesome app too. The OddsShopper app, you can use it as a companion piece. Whenever I bet, you get a notification immediately of what it is. And that, friends, gives you a great opportunity to beat the books and beat these numbers alongside me. And that's what I'm looking forward to with Tails. Lindy50 down at the Discord below. Plus, I have tons of bets that I had the day of, tons of things that I can't possibly analyze the night before. And this makes for a great companion between this video and the opportunity for you to have direct contact with me day in, day out. I'm in that Discord probably more than my wife would like. So Lindy50 friends, down at the link below, would love to have you there. That is 50% off. $20 for your first week becomes $10. $50 for your first month becomes $25. So check it out. That's really all I got. Merry Christmas. Back to the picks. We've reached the lock portion of the program. The Lakers getting 3.5, taking on Golden State. And have I seriously hit my last? I've hit my last 5 bets, betting either for or against Laker games. Yeah, 3 of those have been backing the Lakers, 2 of them against. But shout out the Detroit Pistons, nearly a 2-to-1 ticket over on Caesars. Everybody in the premium Discord. Again, that felt like a pretty good read. And plus, I think the Pistons a little bit undervalued with Sar Thompson. Just a fun piece off the bench. Again, only playing, low 20s minutes, but, doesn't have a lot of fun pieces off the bench. The Los Angeles Lakers. Now, Golden State, they're a little bit thinner than what they generally are off the bench here as well. Moses Moody, probably going to end up questionable entering this one again. Gary Payton the second. He's questionable. The Mitten, that is. Greatest nickname in the NBA. But the Lakers, this just really comes down to projection, where it's ever so slightly like on the border, and then just knowing what you know about LeBron James. And Christmas Day, he's gone over 22.5 points here in 3 of his last 5 Christmases. Do I care about such things? Not really. That's not my forte, but he's averaging a career low 23.2 points per game. However, in recent games since he came back from his little sabbatical, we've seen him take on more of an offensive role. 32 points, 28 points, 13 for 24 from the field, 10 for 16 from the field. Pretty efficient stuff, but it sounds as though that week and a half that he spent there at the beginning of December was basically just giving himself some extra rest leading into the second half of the season. Now, we're not close to the second half of the season per se, but I think he's needing that little bit of extra rest, knowing that, hey, I got the All-Star game. We're trying to plan out some rest and some schedule for him. I think people forget it's his 22nd season in the NBA, and averaging 23, 9, and 8 is still pretty freaking ridiculous. So I think there's lots of ways that the Lakers still have their better days ahead of them. Now, there are trade rumors going to Golden State. There are trade rumors going elsewhere. And I think with the Lakers, same thing is, like, if you could turn D'Angelo Russell into a bag of potato chips, you would do it here at the moment, despite the fact that he actually leads the Lakers in plus minus, which I find to be an unbelievable fact this season. But partially because his minutes are way down, purely because he's not really a winning basketball player on the defensive side. Max Christie, he certainly is, and the Lakers #1 in adjusted defensive rating over the course of the last 6 games here, most of those with him starting and playing more minutes. But back to the lock. LeBron James, 23.5 points is where I thought this number would be set at like -110, -115. It's at 22.5, -115. And I feel really good about LeBron James on Christmas Day playing a couple extra minutes than his season average, 34.6. So I'm thinking we see more around the 36, 38 minutes going up against Draymond Green and company. And he's had some massive outings against Draymond Green of late here as well. So this is kind of more of an I know ball hybrid along with my projections. But you ramp up those minutes, you have more of his recent usage here in spots like this. Man, LeBron James looks good for me here. 22.5 points over it. My lock for Christmas Day. In our last game of the night, Denver taking on Phoenix. 2.5-point favorites are the Denver Nuggets, and they're starting to figure some stuff out. Looking much better here with more minutes going towards Russell Westbrook. Things I didn't expect to say in the year of our Lord 2024. Maybe in 2025, it'll be the year that he comes out. I don't know. Russell Westbrook's legitimately been a winning basketball player for the Denver Nuggets, which I did not expect. They are drastically better with him on the floor and in that starting unit so far. And that shocks me, but I suppose Nikola Jokic, if you're going to be somebody who tries really, really hard and plays more to like whatever Jokic wants you to do and knows that you don't have to be the #1 on the floor, you're probably going to play freer. And I don't know. That's just basically me evaluating it from the outside looking in. But the numbers back it up. It is truly mind-blowing seeing the improvement for Russell Westbrook. What happens to Michael Porter Jr. here going forward? We saw his minutes trimmed down to 23. He ends up playing 30 against Phoenix, was very, very efficient shooting the ball, but I think there's going to be some times to parlay some of his unders together in single game parlay fashion. You could see the quick hook in any type of competitive spot, and that's exactly what we have here. Now, I did end up shorting over in some pick'em stuff, some 30.5 Kevin Durant points. I don't know where these numbers end up landing across the board. Some of them have him closer to 28.5, 29.5. Looks like it's going to be adjusted, but this is a second consecutive matchup. Now, they played in Denver. Now they're going to be playing here in Phoenix. I think that kind of shifts the balance a little bit, ever so slightly, towards the Phoenix side. Again, I was leaning towards the Phoenix side there in that game, getting 7. Should it be at 2.5 here? It's a little bit strange. It's a little bit strange if you ask me, but I will say I'm not very interested in just about anything from this game. With my 2 minutes bump up, though, you definitely have to look at Nikola Jokic triple-double when it's close to the 2-to-1 type number. Now, I want better than plus 180. It's currently at plus 170 on FanDuel, best available, so that it can only be a lean. But he only played 30 minutes against the Phoenix Suns last time around, 32, 7, and 2. 2 rebounds, the lowest output by far for Jokic all season long. Don't expect that to continue. I think it gives you a little bit of a buy low spot because you ramp those minutes back up to 36, 38, even 43 like we saw against New Orleans. He has to play tons out there. He's averaging 9.7 assists per game. And despite the fact that Jamal Murray in years past has killed the assist rate this year, I think it helps between him and Russell Westbrook being on the floor together at times to help Jokic have more of those assist opportunities. I think we'll see him average over 10 come season's end. And that does it for a Christmas Day edition of NBA Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Hit that like button on the way out. Go to the comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays that exist on the board for this lovely Wednesday slate we have. Again, be safe, be merry. Hopefully you had a fantastic holiday season. And we'll be back strictly at work here. 8 games coming your way on Thursday. Producer Jordan Klein, thank you so much for filling in, doing a phenomenal job as always. Until next time, friends, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck on Christmas Day in the NBA streets.